a point that we've made many times. Nobody's tanking. Nobody's tanking right now. Like when we get to week 18, we might get there. There might be some special circumstances. We'll see what quarterbacks, even with the dozen backups, almost a dozen backups that we had this week, nobody's tanking. And like, look, we overrate the schedule. We overrate it. Like look at the number of upsets. How many games were written in as W's or L's this week, and it went the opposite? You know, like last night, both of them, both games. I mean, that game closed at what 16?
Mhm.
16 point spread in that game, and the other one was
Mhm.
almost a touchdown. And Thursday night's game was 6, and the dog wins outright. Like there were a lot of games, and then we're also at a stage in the season where we're going to see that second divisional matchup. And what we
Mhm.
know in Survivor is be wary of those matchups. Be careful. Second time they're seeing each other for years and years. They know each other very well. Um, and all of that is baked into the numbers. And we'll get into that with the playoff odds. So I think that is something important to remember. I mean, Houston. How many people had Houston not getting 200 yards against the Jets? Like, it was going to be a very difficult matchup. I don't view this weekend as a one-off. I know it was more on the extreme side, guys, but I view it as more of the NFL norm that we were not seeing. And that's why it was a story in my world. Like the favorites kept hitting again and again. That's not the NFL that we're used to. And then this week happened, and people are going to make a big deal out of it. And yes, it was a wild week with some of the results that we got, but also like we should be used to it. Touchdown favorites losing outright, that happens a lot in this league. When you have a handful of them, it usually happens at least once on a week-by-week basis.
The receivers are still healthy. The Kyron Williams aspect has made them even more dynamic. And certainly, our friends and experts and pundits who watch the Rams carefully, who really know ball, have talked about how they are able to disguise so many different things. We talk about unpredictable offenses. Well, the Rams
Mhm.
are high on that list when it comes to having one pre-snap look and then giving the defense something completely different. And you've got a veteran quarterback in Matt Stafford. As long as he can stay healthy, he knows how to run this offense. He's been there long enough. They are more and more fun to watch by the week. And I wonder if that matters in terms of just being aesthetically pleasing to the game.
Okay, you got your South winner and the 3 wildcard spots. The 5 is, of course, going to be dangerous. Your second place team in the NFC East. But the 6 and the 7, the only team that I can see doing something is the Rams. And okay, even if, let's say the Rams are a 6,
Mm-hmm.
or I don't know. Could they go to whichever team is the 2 and the 3? Could they go on the road and win? Let me tell you, Detroit, let's go. They'll beat them first round.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
You know,
True.
Dallas,
I'll say.
Dallas or Philly would be tough, but Detroit, I'd be all in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm just a little surprised that it's still like plus 184. When I bet the Rams before the season, it was plus 310 to make the playoff. It's not that big of a difference considering it was kind of crazy when I bet it. Like I should have probably got way better value then. If
Mm-hmm.
it's plus 184 now.
That's I would make it close with the schedule and everything else in the wash, and some of the tiebreakers that they own. I would make them much closer to even money to make the playoffs than plus 184.
Yeah, that's my
Absolutely.
point. It's good value. You could have waited because now I'm a much bigger believer in it than I was. And,
Mm-hmm.
to get plus 310 when it was like ludicrous. And now it actually seems possible. You're getting plus 184. I'd bet it now.
Can I interest any of you guys in a second place NFC South team to make it?
Oh
Like with the
God.
Saints, yes, we hate them, but they do have the easiest schedule remaining of the divisional contenders. They are
Right.
5-point favorites to Tommy DeVito. If you want to take the points, I understand that, but 5 is still leading me to believe that the Saints could be just fine, and we'll hate them once they make it, and they might get blasted by, and the NFC East winner, but still, it's plus
That's
144,
gone.
I think.
That's gone back up. There was a 3.5. There were 3.5s across the board this morning, or at least I saw one. I saw a 3.5 this morning
Okay.
on that game, but it's gone back
Yeah.
up.
Mhm.
I hate
I think
every
they fall
single one of those
apart.
NFC South teams. I do too.
I think New Orleans falls like if I'm picking one team that I think falls apart down the final month, and I know the schedule. And by the way, one of those games against the Rams that we were just talking up, I think they
Right.
fall apart. Did you? I mean, I still can't get over 200 yards of offense against Carolina, and they're up by multiple scores, and the center is screaming at Carr. They
Mhm.
don't seem to like him at all. Every
He
stop,
sucks.
it's the same story. Yeah, of course he sucks. And he likes to blame
Mhm.
everybody else.
A couple things come to mind. The AFC wildcard is really interesting, and I think maybe the most interesting team out there is the Bills because I think that this is true that the Bills are either going to miss the playoffs or make the Super Bowl, and I don't think there's
Mhm.
any getting around that. I think that if they get in as the seventh seed, I believe they're going to Super Bowl. I really do because the rest of the AFC is just whatever. Like it's again, we just talked about the Dolphins. The Jaguars are obviously kind of up and down. The Ravens are the one team I probably trust the most, but I don't know that a capital T trusts them. I think that they're very good, but if it was Bills at Ravens in the AFC Championship game, I don't know. I might take the Bills there, but we don't know if the Bills are going to get in. I mean, they need to win some games here. They might need to beat the Cowboys on Sunday. So very interesting to me. We were just talking something that is intriguing to me, and we were talking about. I think it's a great conversation. The MVP race is kind of awesome this year. Usually we got it a little bit figured out by now. This year, I don't know. Look, the voting is so formulaic for MVP. 13 of the last 14 MVPs have been quarterbacks off number one or number two seeds. You have this Dak issue where he does look like the favorite. He's a betting favorite right now. But the Eagles have the inside track still to the NFC East title. It's hard to imagine when you look at the schedules, when you look at everything that lays out, that Eagles won't win the NFC East. Would voters vote for Dak even if they're the number 5 seed? It hasn't happened since 2008 when that's happened. Does that give Brock Purdy the MVP? Are we living in a world where Brock Purdy is the NFL MVP? Can you imagine saying that sentence 13 months ago? So I think the MVP race is still, I'm very, very interested in down the stretch here.
You know, Frank said it. It might be going a little far, but I totally feel what he's saying. It's like the Bills are either going to miss it or they're going to make it and go to the Super Bowl. I hear him because that conference is just so weak everywhere. Isn't that crazy? Where we started the year, what we thought the AFC was, like, it's not only the bottom, it's the teams that are going to be on the top. They're beatable. Like on paper, the Ravens are probably the best right now, but they're all beatable. And a team like that, with that sort of upside, sure. The issue is they lost to Denver. They lost to Cincinnati. They lost to Jacksonville. Maybe Jacksonville, the part doesn't matter. They end up winning the division, something like that. But that's why they're still sitting there as the 11, because we also have a 6 with the exact same record. So, but look, they can do this, and if they get in, watch out. Nobody wants to match up with that team.